Pete Thamel, Yahoo Sports.
I got one for you too, Rich.
All right.
Go.
Yeah. Is it in the question I'm about to ask you about the hot rumor that was spreading like crazy amongst my friends and fellow alums at Michigan that Jim Harbaugh is on the verge of getting a contract extension with Michigan? Is that the question you're going to ask me, Pete?
It wasn't, but I'll answer that to the best I can, and then
yes.
I'll follow my answer with a question. That's been buzzing. No one's been able to kind of confirm that, but that wouldn't be a surprise. And all along, I really didn't think Michigan wanted to part ways with Jim Harbaugh. If they're going to do that, they'd probably be wise to do it before they play Ohio State on Saturday, as the outcome looks fairly predictable, even with obviously the Buckeyes playing with a little bit of an inferior roster, especially on the offensive line. But yeah, I have never felt in this a strong institutional desire for Michigan to this isn't Auburn, right? Like there's a respect for what Harbaugh's done. If you look at the job he's done there holistically,
yes.
He's won 69% of his games.
Yes.
He's revived revenues from two pretty down eras back to back with Brady and Rich.
Kids graduate, they're not in trouble a lot at all. No, I understand, and yeah. I'm sure the school president absolutely adores that in Jim Harbaugh. No question about that.
Yeah, and I think the school president, because it's a university that has varied other interests, is almost
yep.
There's maybe a little sense of ambivalence towards the football team having a down year because
Pete,
it's a pandemic and the
you're correct.
Revolting, and
I think you're spot on.
And that's a good thing. That's a compliment to them. That's not that's not knocking them like they don't care enough. It's like, yeah, you're trying to run a multi-billion-dollar institution in a pandemic, so there's other, so there's potentially other priorities. What I want to ask you is this from your chair, Rich. You're obviously far more plugged into the NFL. Do you think there's a market for Jim Harbaugh right now in the NFL?
I think the Jets, I know Woody Johnson has been very enamored with Jim and by Jim, and he's coming back officially in a couple of weeks from his ambassadorship overseas. That's the total wild card. I don't know if the Bears would be. I don't know what the Bears are going to do. I think the Lions are already focusing on the 49ers defensive coordinator and Robert Saleh that you see. He's from Dearborn. I don't know how much of a market there would be for Harbaugh in the pros right now. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's
would be
that's
my sussing it out right now.
Yeah, that's my sense too from calling around. I did a little bit earlier this season, but there are there's going to be 7-8 NFL jobs probably by the end of this whole thing. So. It's interesting. Would he be better off taking a year off?
I don't think so. He loves to coach, Pete. You know that.
No.
He's a total, and that's the thing that was the most outrageous aspect about the whole waving the white flag, using COVID as a shield. Michigan is installed as a 30-point underdog or something insane like that for this week, and that let's just use COVID to avoid the inevitable destruction. I mean, that is so antithetical to who this guy is. You say what you will about him saying don't eat chicken because he's a nervous bird or whatever, all that stuff. To say that he wants to duck competition is insane. Insane, Pete.
I agree with that. Jim Harbaugh, I covered him at Stanford. He was a blast back then. It was pre-social media, but the stuff he would do and say and the way he not only needled Pete Carroll back when USC was a roaring dynasty, but then he went and beat him as a 42-point underdog. No, his competitive chops can't be questioned. I just question the team right now. I just don't think it's very talented. And I don't see a clear path out of this for him there because of just the distinct talent. Like Maryland has more talent than Michigan right now.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.